Let's see. Hold on 1 second while I'm gonna start streaming it on YouTube just like we would a regular meeting. And once we do that, Dr. Monroe, you're
Are we ready?
Yep. All you.
Okay. So I call this meeting of the Winterville Planning and Zoning Board for March 16th, 2020 to order. Welcome to everyone in this new format. Now, I guess a new normal here. Glad to see all your faces. Glad to know you all are healthy and that we are still able to be about the business of Winterville and doing good work. Do we have any excused absences, Brian? Any requests for excused absences, Brian? You're muted.
Sorry about that. YouTube was playing behind me, so I was getting feedback on both sides. Yeah, Mr. Willie Hines did call in today, so he was not feeling well, so he asked for an excused absence.
Okay, so we have one member request excused absence. We receive a motion to excuse Willie Hines from this meeting.
Yeah, I'll make a motion. Mike Weldon, I'll make a motion to excuse Mr. Hines.
Robert Briley, I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and properly second. All those in favor, vote aye.
And the red line ain't wrong no more.
So Peggy Claiborne. Make sure you guys are not muted. Miss Peggy, yay or nay for excused absences?
That's it.
Miss Darlene's in now. Miss Peggy, can you hear me?
So the red line ain't wrong no more.
All right, we'll go. Miss Margie Crawford, yay or nay on excused
Hey,
absences?
you're mute.
I'm on mute.
Mr. Doug Killian, yay or nay?
Yay. Doug Killian, yes.
I got to mash it when I say yay.
Gregory Monroe,
Aye.
Mr. Robinson is not in. Michael Weldon,
Yes.
Darlene Gardner. She's trying to join, so we'll get her. And Tucker Moore.
Aye.
So Miss Peggy, never got yours. So yays have it. So we've got a majority.
Okay, so Mr. Hines is excused from today's meeting. The next item on the agenda is approval of tonight's agenda. You've had a chance to review this with the packet of information that was sent to us by staff. I entertain a motion to accept the agenda for tonight's meeting.
Mike Weldon, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Ask him, is it March or May?
Mr. Briley, I think you just muted yourself. You were unmuted. You just muted.
All right, I appreciate it. Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. All right.
Now I'm unmuted. Okay.
Were you seconding Mr. Briley?
Yes.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, answer aye or in the affirmative or your vote upon the roll call.
Darlene, since you joined, we're just going to go through a roll call every time, just for yays or nays, just so we can get everybody on track. So with that, I'll go ahead and start with you, Darlene Gardner.
Yay.
Miss Peggy, I'm still not seeing you, but I'm gonna call on you, see if you.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yay. And I'm present. Can you see me?
Yep, I can see you. You're good. Miss Margie
Okay.
Crawford on the approval of the agenda.
Yay.
Mr. Douglas Killian on the approval of the agenda.
Yay.
Mr. Gregory Monroe,
Yay.
Mike Weldon,
Yay.
and Tucker Moore.
Aye.
Okay, the next item on the agenda, approval of the February joint meeting with town council.
So moved.
It's been moved by Peggy Clyburn,
I'll second.
second by Mike Weldon. Everyone had a chance to review. All those in favor, please vote in the affirmative upon roll call.
Miss Margie Crawford,
Yay.
Mr. Douglas Killian,
Yes.
Dr. Gregory Monroe,
Yes.
Mr. Michael Weldon. You muted, Mike. Let me go mute. You good?
Yay.
All right. Darlene Gardner,
Yay.
Tucker Moore.
Yes.
And Mr. Briley, did you?
Yay.
Okay.
Brian,
Yes, sir.
at the start of the meeting, he said March the 16th, the day's the 18th, isn't it,
Nay.
Yes.
of May?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, on the agenda it has March. It's May 18th. I apologize.
Well, I thought you were reading it right off the agenda here.
But when I just printed, it had March 16th on it.
I know.
Yours does too.
All
It
right.
does say March 16th, and I apologize. That is,
That's
was that both sets or just, so we got another set of minutes, right?
This is just on the agenda for today.
Right.
It's March 16th, should be May 18th, 20.
May 18th. Yeah, we'll make that correction, make sure the minutes reflect them.
Okay. All right. The next item on the agenda is the February regular meeting. Have you had a chance to review? We'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from February.
I make a motion that we accept.
I'll second.
A motion was made by Mr. Briley, seconded by Mr. Killian. Had a chance to consider. All those in favor answered in the affirmative at the roll call.
Miss Peggy Clyburn, come back to you, Miss Peggy. Miss Margie Crawford,
Yay.
Mr. Briley,
Yay.
Tucker,
Yes.
Miss Darlene Gardner,
Yay.
Mr. Michael Weldon,
Yay.
and Dr. Monroe.
Yay.
Miss Peggy, for whatever reason, I can't unmute you from my end. There you go, Miss Peggy,
Yes, yes.
And I'm yes too.
and Mr. Doug Killian.
Yes.
All right, so that's everybody here, unanimous.
Okay. That brings us to new business. Bryant Ames Plaza, Lot 20 and 21 final plat.
Okay, I'm gonna share my screen so you guys can see everything that I'm doing. So I'm going to go ahead and post that up there. So you guys should be able to see my screen. So we do have Ames Plaza lots 20 and 21. It's a final plat. So this is out on Beacon Drive. You see the parcel number there, 76141. 2.5 acres, 2 lots. Zoning is general business. You see that highlighted there. The Aqua Ventures right across the street, Regional Acceptance across the street, And if you remember, the one right next to it is the new Pool Pro site. So there's the overlay of the map itself. So you can see 2 lots being final platted. With that, I'll take any questions.
Brian, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
If you could go back to the picture, the one overlay, please. Thank you. Is that a sidewalk showing along those 3, 4 lots there?
No, sir. That's just that's going to be a ingress egress easement. So this is one that you can see, but there will be sidewalks out front. We've gotten sidewalks in front of Pool Pro, so we'll get the sidewalks noted in the site plan itself.
Okay,
So, but that's just showing an ingress egress. It's showing the shared drive between lots 20 and 21. So it'll mimic pretty much everything out there with those shared drives and plenty of access, but that's all that is.
but it does include sidewalks. I mean, the final plat will include sidewalks, correct?
The final plat on the site plan will though.
Okay, just as long as the sidewalks. Thank you.
Yeah, we've got an opportunity to get them on that side of the road, so we're taking that opportunity. And
Wonderful.
any further questions?
Okay, there be no other questions. Entertain a motion to approve the final plat for lot 20 and 21 in Ames Plaza.
Doug Killian, I motion to approve.
Margie Crawford, I second it.
Okay, it's been moved and properly second. Please respond to your desire at roll call.
Ms. Peggy Clybourne, I'm gonna come back to you, Ms. Peg. Who motioned it? Okay, Mr. Killian motioned it. So Dr. Monroe,
Aye.
Mr. Michael Weldon,
Aye.
Ms. Darlene Gardner,
Yay.
Mr. Tucker Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Robert Briley.
Aye.
I'm going back to Miss Peggy, see if she can, I think she tried to restart the video, so. Miss Peggy looking for an approval, yay or nay on the final plat.
Brian, did you get that? That's a yes.
Okay, thank you, got it.
All right, so we're moving to the,
I get to vote too, yes. Sorry. But
Did I
get
miss
to-
you, Doug? Well,
Yeah, it's okay.
well, he seconded.
well, you motioned it, and
Oh,
so,
okay,
so I assumed that you were affirmative for it.
okay, that'll count.
All right, are we ready for the next item? The Pitt County Shrine Club rezoning request?
Just run to a little bit. Oh, right there. Okay.
So,
That's been done.
Let me see, Jen.
had my slides mixed up a little bit, just bear with me. All right, there we go. All right, so yeah, as Chairman just mentioned, it's Pitt County Shrine Club rezoning request. So just a little background on this one. This one's already in place. Pitt County Shrine Club has already got their building built on this piece of property. They actually are in an AR district. The Shrine Club was permitted under a conditional use permit back in late 2017. So this is kind of a housekeeping item. We're trying to get those guys situated where they can operate like they always have. So Pitt County Shrine Club has historically allowed their property to be for rent for Typically, it's wedding receptions, but they operate under the Pitt County Shrine Club umbrella for charitable organization work. But I'll go through this. I just want to give a little background while we're doing it. But where they're at now, so the way it was in the past, they were kind of they had been there so long, 30 plus years, and they were operating in a way that that was, for lack of a better word, non-conforming, but it was no more non-conforming than what it was, so they were allowed to keep operating. So when they moved into this new facility, this is one of the kind of unforeseen consequences. When they moved in, the way they were operating it went contrary to the zoning that they were in. So we're trying to do some cleanup for them, and I'll explain a little bit more as we move forward. But Pitt County Shrine Club is located on Church Street Extension. That's south of its intersection with L'Orealis, parcel number 73685. Site data is just shy of 3 acres. The current zoning, like I said, is agricultural residential. The proposed zoning district is office and institutional with a conditional district. So it's office and institutional conditional district. The current land use character area is suburban residential, and the proposed land use character area would be office and employment. And I'll go through those. So the conditional part of this zoning is, so these conditions will be tied to the property. So 1, to operate a fraternal organization, which is the Pitt County Shrine Club. 2, to use the facility for fraternal meetings and fundraising efforts to support Shriners Hospitals for Children. That would be permitted under the use for fraternal and civic organizations. 3, to allow for the facility to be rented to the public primarily for wedding receptions on the weekends, Saturdays and Sundays, and business meetings and luncheons during the week, which would be the use of assembly hall. That's where the assembly hall use is kind of where we ran into problems with them using it for strictly in the agricultural residential district. So O&I would allow them to do it, but this would narrow that use down to these parameters. And those and the last condition would be the public rentals would not begin before 8 and would conclude by 11. So those timeframes came from the actual noise ordinances we have in town. So we didn't want to go contrary to what we have ordinances already in place. So noise ordinance in town is anything after 11 p.m. and before 7 a.m. would be subject to those noise ordinance laws. So we wanted to keep it in those parameters. The adjacent property owners were mailed notification of this rezoning on May 8th, and a sign was posted on the same day. So here's your property highlighted in red, right there on the corner of Park Road and Church Street. So your current zoning, like it says, AR. You can see kind of sprinkled that it's all residential around. You got some commercial up here with the north of it with the operations center and the new HVAC place. So existing land use map, it shows it being vacant, but there is in fact a building on there now. So but in the time that we did inventory, that building's been built, which is, like I said, fairly recent in the last year, year and a half. There's a picture of the site, nice building out there. So future land use plan, as I said, it's in the suburban residential character area noted in our land use plan. So when we're looking at our land use plan, we always like to look at the character areas. In this case, I wanted to kind of point out in an institution or park, this is kind of where we feel like it needs to be. And specifically, we want to point out that the land use plan sees a civic organization or a fraternal organization such as this. They're allowed in any future land use category. So this use could potentially go anywhere. With the exception of the assembly hall portion of it, but the future land use character area that would turn into, based on a proposed rezoning, would be the institutional and parks, and the potential zoning there is obviously office and institutional. So I always kind of like to try to point to things in our recommendation and policy analysis. So under economic development, the The one that really kind of stood out for this one is to identify character areas that make Winterville unique. And I think that if anybody talks about the Shrine Club, they automatically think about Winterville. So that's kind of something that uniquely Winterville is the Shrine Club. So that's why I kind of identified that in the land use plan. But with the current conditions proposed for this rezoning request, staff does find it is reasonable and in public interest because it is compatible with surrounding land uses and the future land use plan. And I say that because it points back to the use being allowed in any of the character areas. So staff does recommend approval of this request. So just a little bit for the rezoning process. You guys obviously know how it goes, but public comments now be entertained by Planning and Zoning Board, but that's kind of a little bit different. We published notice, and in all our notices, we requested that people would contact us in writing before the meeting. I haven't received any comments at all. The town clerk doesn't have any on file, nor do I. So with that being said, there's no comments to be given. So P&Z, so the board will now just make a recommendation to town council, and that town council will hold a public hearing regarding this request, and that'll be scheduled at the June meeting. Usually I would put the date here, but I'm not exactly sure when that's going to be. And I'll tell you just quickly, traditionally council's taken July off. I'm not sure what's going to happen on that meeting, so I didn't say when it was going to be. So it could be, if council elects to have a July meeting, it may be July, but it may be August. So with that said, I will answer any questions you guys have.
Brian, Doug Killian.
Yes, sir.
2 questions. In the screen that I was seeing at the beginning before you went to the agenda, there were 2 people there that I did not recognize, a Mr. Paget and a Mr. Anderson.
So,
Could you help me understand who they are and why they're there?
absolutely. So Mr. Bobby Paget is the secretary of the Shine Club. He has joined the meeting just to answer any questions you guys would have for him. Mr. Scott Anderson is he's the engineer for the other rezoning request, the Marizio property. So he'll be able to answer any questions for that one. But Mr. Paget could answer any questions that you guys would have for this one.
Robert, hold on a second. I'm just about done. My second question is, you addressed it, I believe, with the noise ordinance. There's been an ongoing problem off and on with the moose coming before the council with noise complaints by neighbors. And I just don't want to see this happen. I know it's fairly rural out there, and the subdivision is across the street and down a little bit.
Sure.
Is this addressed well enough in with the conditions, or do we need something more?
So, and that's a great question, and that's exactly so. To be perfectly transparent, they wanted to. Originally, we talked about 8 a.m. to midnight, but keeping in line with the noise ordinance, it does specifically say 11 p.m. So, talking with that, we didn't want to go against that ordinance. So that's exactly why we went in line with that ordinance. Didn't want to create more work for our police department, obviously, but I'll let Mr. Paget talk to you guys about that a lot, as much as he wants. But I can't speak for their tenants, but I think he probably could. Bobby, make sure you're unmuted.
Yep. All right, I'm there. Yes, sir. I'll be glad to answer anything that I can answer. As Brian said, we've been in existence, most of y'all probably know, on Tar Road at our old location for about 33 years before we rebuilt on Church Street. We operated during that entire time like we're talking about doing now. It's a way for us to raise funds to support the hospitals, the Shriners Hospital for Children, which is our charity. And it allows us to raise funds as well as have our fraternal fundraisers on site, barbecue chickens, fish fries, that type of stuff. So that's the fraternal part, and then the fundraising part, a lot of it comes with the run of our facility. Be glad to answer any specific questions. When we were in our old facility, most, if not almost all of our rentals were wedding receptions, most of them afternoon, 3 or 4 o'clock events, concluding normally by 8 or 9 o'clock when the bride and groom left. People were kind of scattered soon thereafter. That's why when Brian mentioned about the 11 o'clock noise ordinance, that was no problem whatsoever with us. Everything that we have is always done and over with and breaking down by that time anyway. So that's not a problem with us. We never had any issues at the old club that I'm aware of, and I've been in the club for 20 years, have been secretary the entire time. Not aware of any problems that we ever had with law enforcement, either Winterville PD or Sheriff's Department, with an issue happening at the club. I don't see anything changing. I don't see anything being different than what it was before.
Mr. Padgett, do you
Yes,
typically have a representative of the club on site during an
yes, sir, we
activity like
do.
that?
Whenever it is a fraternal fundraiser, then there's always club members and officers and club members there from beginning to end. Anything that we would do from a public rental, we would also have either a Shrine Club representative on site all times, or we would have someone that we had contracted with to take care of our facility. Our shrine organizations in general require that whenever anyone is in our building, public members, whomever, whenever anyone is in our facility, that we have to have the representatives on site all the time, beginning to end. In other words, we don't give, if you rent from us, we don't give you the keys and tell you to have a nice day. Someone will be there at all times from beginning to end. Whenever anything is going on, if there's any problems, it will be addressed immediately by club members or by our representative, whoever they happens to be. Our insurance requires that from everything that we do through the shrine.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Now, you were very specific to say that, wedding rentals, that is, I'm assuming, the main thing that are rentals, but you also say public rentals. So that's inclusive of 60th birthday party anniversaries and those kind of things.
We have, yes, sir. At our previous club, we did have occasionally birthday parties, and they were normally 40-plus-year-old birthday parties and older, wedding receptions, anniversary parties. There again, an older. We're not looking at 20-somethings for the most part. That's not our target audience, not at all. It's much like wedding receptions. Now that's going to be younger, of course, but in the anything that's not a wedding reception, in the birthday party category, in a wedding reception or that type of thing, not wedding reception, but in a birthday party or a I won't say class reunion, because we've had some of those too, although they about fell by the wayside. But we've had some anniversary parties, most are with an older crowd, a 40-plus, 50-plus-year-old crowd. And that's not what we're targeting or looking for in this situation. We're really we've talked to a restaurant, local restaurant, Familias on Fire Tower Road, right outside of Winterville, right across from Pitt Community College. He would be handling anything that we did from a public rental situation, and his target audience, in order for him to make money and provide food, is wedding receptions. That's why I keep going back to that, because that does seem to be what we will be concentrating on and looking at. We would not be renting as well for someone who wanted to bring their own food, who wanted to cater themselves. In other words, if you don't use our caterer being him at this present time, if you don't use our caterer, then you won't use our facility. And that is another way of control, keeping everything that we know who's in the building, we know who's in charge, we know what they're doing.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Are there any other questions for Mr. Padgett or for staff?
I had a question. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, my question had to do with accommodations in terms of the parking lot size. In other words, could you really have a function, or would you entertain a function that was I don't know, 500 people, and you
No,
have
ma'am.
parking spaces.
would-
So,
No, ma'am, we
and
would
where I'm
not.
going with this is the
Okay.
spillover onto the road.
Right. Our parking lot has got 81 or 84 spaces. We are looking at approximately 240 people maximum. So we're not looking at 500 person events. We would have a maximum number, and that would, what I understand with our parking area, like it is in the building size, that's adequate for a 240, 250 person event. So we are not even looking at anything, no ways that large. There again, at our old club, and that's what I keep going back to. That's where we were there, and that's the amount of people we would put in the building from time to time. And this public rental, which you never know what's going to happen in the future, but in this public rental, we're not looking at this being a every day, every weekend event. This would be something that would not happen all the time. It would be more of a fill-in as a way of
I
getting
certainly,
extra money.
yeah, I get that. And I guess where I was going was, should that one event spill over beyond your parking lot, what the median is, the size, is it, or cars, is it leaving enough room, enough buffer, in other words, that traffic would not have any problems?
If people was parking on the shoulder of the road, then I would think not, because the shoulder out there on Church Street is very narrow. We do have an area in the back that is grassed. We got an area on the back and on the side that's grassed. If something were to happen that would cause something to be, we could park people there if we had to. We don't want to, but if it would happen to be oversized, we could do that.
Okay. And that would be the first choice?
Yes, ma'am. Most definitely.
Okay.
Most definitely. Yeah, not parking on the street, because Church Street is not wide enough along in there. There's no shoulder to speak of.
Are there any other questions or comments? Okay, there be no more questions or comments for Mr. Pageant or Brian. We'll entertain a motion to approve the recommendation for zoning for the Pitt County Shrine Club.
Margie Crawford, I make a motion to approve.
Darlene Gardner, I second.
Okay, it's been moved and properly second. Please vote your choice upon roll call.
All right, Miss Peggy Clybourne,
Can you hear me now?
yeah, go ahead.
Yes.
All right, Miss Peggy, yes. So I'm going to run through everybody, just even if you made the motion or seconded. So Miss Margie Crawford,
Yes.
Mr. Douglas Killian,
Yes.
Dr. Gregory Monroe,
Yes.
Mr. Michael Weldon,
Yes.
Ms. Darlene Gardner,
Yes.
yes, nice. Mr. Tucker Moore,
Yes.
and Mr. Robert Bradley.
Yes.
Okay, the recommendation stands approved. Item 3, that Mauricio property.
All right, so I'm gonna get back in and share my screen again with you guys. So the last thing from the agenda for action items is the Mauricio property. I hope I'm saying that correctly. So this is out on Church Street extension. This is south of the intersection with Laureates Road as well. 68782 is a parcel number, just over an acre and a half. This is currently in the AR district, and the proposed zoning district is general business. Current land use character area is suburban residential, and going for a proposed land use character area of office employment. So the adjacent property owners were mailed notification way back on March 4th. But the pandemic kind of threw everything in a loop. So reorganized and sent everything back out on May 6th. And that sign was posted back in March. So your property is highlighted in red here. So you can see just north of it is the operations center. The parcel adjacent to it is the new HVAC place. So here's your current zoning. AR, you got general business just north of it, residential across the street, and AR surrounding it to the south. So your existing land use map, it does show industrial because it's got the current, that existing building on it that would throw it in that land use category. So here's a picture of that piece of property. So you got the building sitting out there that it's been used for a number of things, but I think most people would commonly remember the EMS building out there. So your future land use plan, you see here, it's got suburban residential. So we would change that with if the proposed rezoning goes forward, it would move to office and employment, just like it is adjacent to it. So office and employment character areas, they're large office buildings, manufacturing, distribution, and light to medium industrial uses, storage and flex uses, along with associated offices and supporting commercial uses. So your potential zoning, it goes all the way up to industrial and O&I. So we not quite O&I, not quite industrial. So we're kind of splitting the uprights on that and getting general business, or they want general business on this. So obviously when we talk about our land use plan, we want to go to our goals again. So encourage and balance tax growth while managing tax base while managing growth, and encourage non-residential growth in the form of retail, restaurants, and professional offices and industrial development. So we've got an existing building that would fit that bill. So we would like to encourage it to be used for that. So we've got to support Winterville transformation from a bedroom community to a neighboring community to Greenville. So it's kind of one of those things we want to have leakage going to surrounding communities. If we can provide a service here, we should and use that opportunity to provide that service. We should take advantage of it. So focus on business recruitment and expansion and retention. Encourage and support local businesses. So economic, obviously, impact there is pretty self-explanatory. We want to keep all the get all the business we can in town, and especially when it's kind of tailor-made for a business like this would be. So staff recommendation, we do find this request was reasonable in public interest because proposed zoning district is compatible with surrounding land uses in the future land use plan, specifically because it is adjacent to general business property right now. So staff recommends amending the future land use plan as well. So with the proposed rezoning approval, this would automatically become an amended future land use plan character area. So with that being said, we do staff recommends approval of the request from AR to general business. Again, the same process for our rezoning. Public comments were requested through our notifications and online. Town clerk does not have any on file, neither do I. So planning and zoning board will now make a recommendation to town council, and council will hold that public hearing at a later date to be set in June. So with that being said, answer any questions you guys have. Like I previously said, Scott Anderson with Art Engineering, our art consultant, is in the meeting, so he'll be able to answer any questions that I wouldn't be able to. So
okay, Brian, you said a leakage of use of loot, which is losing patronage to one town or another. Did I miss what is the purpose of this property is being used for?
So from what I understand, and Scott will probably be able to answer a little bit better than what I would be able to. But the property owner was, I guess, is intending to lease the property to some type of commercial business. The way it's rented, or the way it's right now, the AR district doesn't lend itself to any type of commercial business. So whether it be, and I'm just throwing out stuff, so nothing that I know. So whether it be an auto repair place or some type of repair service or something like Granite Place or something like that, they wouldn't be able to go there. So Scott, you may be able to answer that question a little bit better than me.
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Yep. You're right. I think she purchased this property a little over a year ago, back in March of 2019, and has trying to find a tenant for the property, and changing to general business just allows some more flexibility and options of potential tenants. She's had a lot of interest, but as far as I know, there are no imminent plans for exactly who is going in this building.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions or comments for staff or for Mr. Anderson? Okay, if there be no questions or comment, we entertain a motion for approval of the rezoning request for the Mauricio property.
I make a motion, Robert Briley, that we accept.
Doug Killian, I'll second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Please vote your intention upon roll call.
All right, so we go through everybody again. So Miss Peggy Clybourne,
Yes.
Miss Margie Crawford,
Yes.
Mr. Douglas Killian,
Yes.
Dr. Gregory Monroe,
Yes.
Mr. Michael Weldon,
Yes.
Miss Darlene Gardner,
Yes.
Mr. Tucker Moore,
No.
Mr. Robert Briley.
Yes.
That's it. So it passes with how many is that?
7-1.
7-1.
Okay. The next item is staff report.
So you guys got my staff report. So there's a couple in your packet. You can kind of see what we've been doing. March was kind of a crazy little month with things kind of winding down. April, you can kind of see we just totally fell off there with zoning permits. Only had 6 total permits in April. I'm sorry, in March. So March was kind of just the beginning, everything nobody really knew. April picked back up, and you can kind of see we're right on schedule for about the same amount of zoning permits we do each year. Our single family houses, they're a little bit down. Obviously, that's a result of the pandemic, I think. So we're a little bit behind pace in what we have been the last 2 years, but that's kind of understandable at this point. I do want to point out that we've got a couple things coming up. Our upcoming project. So you guys are going to see a really big ordinance update for our zoning ordinance come to you guys probably the latter part of the summer. I know I've talked about it a little bit, but Senate Bill 355 and specifically Chapter 160D has it's pretty much it's changing, or it's requiring that every zoning ordinance in the state of North Carolina be amended for consistency. So we had to do an extensive update and amendment to our ordinance, but you guys will see that coming up, like I said, in the latter part of the summer. We, Stephen and I have been working diligently on that, and it pretty much affects every part of our ordinance. So that'll be a lengthy process to go through but it's a requirement from the state. But we'll go through that with a fine tooth comb for you guys to see coming up. Election of officers, our next meeting, we'll do that. It's that time of year again. So we'll, you guys be thinking about if you want to keep it the same or if you want to move a different direction. So just keep that in mind. We've got a couple members, their terms are coming up. Miss Margie Crawford and Mr. Willie Hines, both of them have expressed interest in keeping, being reappointed to the board. So we'll be taking that to council in June for their consideration. With that being said, that's all I have for you guys. I'd be happy to answer any questions you guys have or provide feedback on anything.
Thank you, Brian. Are there any questions, comments at this time from board members? Brian, I did want to make note in your abstracts that you sent in our packet, if they haven't been corrected, they also are saying March 16th.
Okay, I'll make sure. That was one of those things where the pandemic caught me off guard, so I was keeping everything prepared for the March meeting and kept moving it down the line. So we'll make sure. I appreciate you bringing that to my attention.
Brian.
Yes, sir.
Are y'all in the process of making changes to your flood ordinance?
Yeah, I've got those changes coming as well. So I've actually already got those done. That was a pretty standard change. We in the county in Pitt County, specifically in Winterville, we didn't have any panel changes. So it was really just cleaning up our ordinance language to match the state's model ordinance. So really, it's more of a housekeeping thing. So, but yes, we do have that coming up as well.
Did you already have a free board?
Yep, 2 feet.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any other comments? If not, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Robert Riley, so moved.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and properly second. Do we need to do a roll call, Brian?
I think we can just say all in favor, say aye on this one.
Aye.
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 Okay.
All right, guys.
Thank
Thanks
you.
a lot.
Okay, take care, everyone.
All right. Have a good night.
Thank you.
All right.